This show is presented by FL Teams. Check out FLTeams.com, your go-to one-stop shop for all Florida sports covers. Also, check out FL Teams on social media. This is Hike 305. I'm your host, James, and this man right here means no introduction. He's been FL Teams. He's a legend of FL Teams, the host of Fins in the Sea, Jeremiah. Welcome to the show, bud.
Hey, man, so glad to be a part of it, man. You flatter me, man. FL Teams is so much fun for guys like us who are just sports fans in Florida, Florida sports fans, and get together to talk. So I'm honored to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you as my guest, and so have I. I'm honored to be here as well. We have a lot to talk about. What happened last week up to today. I think a lot of it has been controversial and a little bit negative. It sort of feels a little bit overshadowing of the different problem that the league has been going through. But I want to start off with this, right? And what happened here was there was an investigation that's been going on for months that Brian Flores sued the Dolphins, and the investigation concluded last week that there was no taking, but there was tampering involved, and the punishment was we lost the 2023 first round pick and the 2024 third round pick, and that's not even that's not the only punishment that happened, but we lost two draft picks in the next 2 years, something that we could have used to draft some of the nice talents from colleges.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, here's how I've resigned it is at least the 2023 that we lost was our pick. We still have San Francisco's first rounder, so we're not going to be completely bare in the first round. And hopefully, if the season turns out the way that it should, San Francisco is going to have a higher pick than we are. I mean, the hype around the Dolphins right now, if our pick is somewhere in the 20s, it's been a failure. So you hate to lose it, but at the end of the day, my whole feelings on all of it altogether, man, is I do think the timing of it was a little odd. You get the Deshaun Watson 6-game suspension the day before, and then right behind that, now you're going to do this with the Dolphins. I think my favorite part of this one, James, is that they suspended Stephen Ross for like what? How does that matter at all? Like he can't sit in the booth. I don't get it. And then threw him like a $1.5 million like fine. That's walk around money for Ross. Like he has it in his pocket.
That's in his pocket. How could you? I don't understand. I don't understand okay, I get it. I think he deserves it. But if this was the case, Stephen Ross, he's got to go. He's got to resign the Dolphins. I think what's been happening is I think he pretty much the Dolphins, I say cluster in the worst way because throughout the 10 years, it's been either tanking, and tanking is a pretty interesting word because that's what Brian Flores used against Stephen Ross in the 2019 season. But at the end of it all, they concluded that they weren't tanking for it. They're actually trying to play. But if Ross is held accountable and suspended and lost 2 draft picks, shouldn't Brian Flores also held accountable?
Well, Flores to me is just I'll try not to rant too much, but like Flores to me is just I can't understand. Okay, like this is what I hate. So he gets, the Dolphins fire him, and I was shocked. I think a lot of Dolphins fans initially were like, "Whoa, what are we doing?" But then all the stories started rolling out about how Flores was behind the scenes and to his coaches and to the players and like pretty much like against what ownership is saying. Like, look, I have a boss at my job. I have an owner of the company. If the owner of my company tells me that I need to do something a certain way or that they want me to employ or hire certain people underneath me, I can't just defy that. Like, no, I'm not going to do it and then not expect to get fired, right?
Yeah.
And then Flores, the nonsense that he pulled out of everywhere. Okay, he tried to play this holier than thou thing. And then he talks about the interview that he had in Denver from how many years ago? Okay, none of that came out at the time. You were so offended and you were so hurt that it didn't make news then. And then you're so moral that you're not going to do this tanking and you weren't comfortable with tampering. You stayed on. You didn't walk away from the Dolphins job. Like it was all like bitter. It was like sour grapes to me, man. Like Flores is just a bad taste in my mouth all the way around.
You mentioned tampering. It seems though as teams would tamper secretly. I'm just gonna put it out that here, but Dolphins got caught for tampering, and the tampering for um, and it wasn't any. There was no permission at all. There was that was concluded, but they're also tampering with Sean Payton as well. The Dolphins got caught from their commissioner Roger Goodell. Um, that was part of the reason that Stephen Ross was suspended. And there was another guy who was suspended. He's not even allowed to come to the game in this season. I forgot who it was, but they're not even allowed to attend a game this season.
Look, in the time, and I get you what you were saying, Stephen Ross, there seems like there's always been some drama surrounding whatever. I think every team and owner in the NFL tampers to some extent. I think Stephen Ross is just really, really bad at it. I mean, if you remember when he was flying Harbaugh in, like Stephen Ross doesn't do anything covertly. Like it's pretty obvious when he's making moves behind the scenes. Like he needs somebody to be better at this. Like hire people to tamper for you. Like
I think he's washed up to do anything. I think my point. I feel like he should resign at this point. He got suspended 7 games. That's more than what Deshaun Watson is suspended for. And speaking of all those things, we have some controversial suspensions, punishments. But I think my question of the week is the NFL fair with punishments? Because last time I heard, Watson is suspended 6 games, but he has I don't want to say it, but he assaulted 24 out of 26 women, right? 24 of them is confirmed. The other one is ongoing. The other one is dropped completely. But meanwhile, Ross gets suspended 7 games. We just talked about. But there's also guys like Calvin Ridley who suspended a full year of betting on his own team. Josh Gordon suspended 2 years roughly from smoking pot. And we have someone like Ray Rice who beat up his own fiance, only got suspended 2 games. Is the NFL fair these punishments? Because to me, they're so inconsistent, so biased. I don't know if bias is just a strong word, but they're so inconsistent. I'm sorry to say.
No, they really are. And I think the suspensions tie more to public image, right? I understand that Calvin Ridley, when it was silly, but there has to be a precedent set, especially now that betting is becoming legal more and more online. It's not like you got to go to Vegas to sports gamble anymore. If you have a player in the NFL who admittedly bet on the NFL, that could bring into question the integrity of the game. As silly as it is, I think these guys are professionals, and I don't think that one guy can tank, throw an NFL game. Maybe Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett looked like last year. Maybe he could throw a game. But I understand that. Here's the deal. The NFL, I think what's funny when you talk about fair with suspensions, right, is this whole Deshaun Watson thing, if you look at it. So they go to the impartial thing, which was set up by the CBA, right? They have a judge. They present their case, and she gives a ruling. Immediately, the NFL appeals. So this whole process was set up to not let Goodell be the judge, jury, and executioner. But as soon as the NFL appeals, then Goodell appoints somebody to oversee the appeal, or he does it himself, and that ruling's final. So it's like Goodell still ultimately is going to make the say. There's no chance Deshaun Watson plays this year. It was too much of a black eye. They're going to suspend him for the entire year. Maybe more. I don't know how you do that. If you give it indefinite, what that time frame is. But yeah, it's all on Goodell and what he sees image, man.
It's deservable to get suspended that entire year, maybe even 2 years, what he did was malicious, terrible, uncalled for, and unnecessary. And Cleveland's in a tough hands too. I think they're in a worse situation than the Dolphins did. If Watson is suspended the full year, which, let's be real, he deserves it.
Mhm.
But imagine if he wasn't, which in this right now it stands with 6 games. But Jacoby Brissett has to start a game, and he couldn't play at all for the Dolphins for his time here.
No. He looked awful. And I mean, yeah, and you see post up there, Deshaun Watson's going to start the preseason game. And man, what a tease that's going to be. I mean, like Cleveland did the most Cleveland thing they could in like giving hope to bringing in this savior of a quarterback, and he's going to be gone. And they guaranteed his money. They guaranteed his money. Like, that is just, ridiculous. Now, on the other hand of this, Stephen Ross getting suspended 7 games, I think, for tampering again, like for the NFL to pretend it didn't happen, and I'll tell you like this much, you and I are going to differ on this point. I like Stephen Ross more after this tampering. I do, because now I feel like I have an owner who took a shot. He saw an opportunity to bring in Sean Payton, Tom Brady. He wants to win in the worst kind of way, and to have an owner to take that shot. He did it poorly, but if he would have pulled this off, man, we're talking about a whole different thing. Tom Brady leading the Dolphins with Sean Payton coaching. And no, Jeff, I love you on our NFL teams, but we're not leaving Payton alone. You think if McDaniel has a bad year, we're not chasing Sean Payton? Shit, dude. He's coming to South Beach. He's taking his talents to South Beach, a la LeBron. But it's silly to suspend an owner 7 games for something like this. I mean, but what's an owner suspension mean again? Like, I really don't know. If it was a Jerry Jones, that would hurt, right? Because like Jerry Jones always seems like he's got his hands in day-to-day operations. From what I know about Stephen Ross, he kind of lets the coaches kind of run that gig. I mean, he may pick the pieces, but he's more of a, let the coaches figure it out. So not having him around for 7 weeks. I don't know if that'll affect like trades maybe or free agent pickups. Like what's he allowed to do and what's he not? I don't know.
But that ultimately is up to the GM too, right?
Right.
If he's So it's Brian's decision to pick up where Ross left off if he's suspended.
A great point came in the chat though. Is it the NFL Players Association has got to be embarrassed in the way that this situation's turned out. And now the next bargaining session is going to be very interesting, right? Because it became very obvious again that this win of an arbitrator was nothing more than just for show. Like, yeah, we'll abide by what the arbitrator says, unless Roger Goodell doesn't agree.
I'll be shocked if he doesn't agree.
Yeah, I mean, that one's going to be big. The Calvin Ridley thing, again, I'll go back on the Ricky Williams for the whole marijuana. Like, I'm sorry, but, stepping outside of football for a minute, there's an enormous opioid epidemic nationwide. And you have these guys who are playing through pain every week and what they do. And when you have guys like Ricky Williams talk about the medicinal use of marijuana and the way that he did that to get through, I mean, would you rather this guy be jacked up on perks or let him like smoke weed? It's crazy that you can get suspended for, 2 years for violating a drug policy for marijuana. I mean, it's we mentioned earlier, you're in New York, I'm in Delaware. In New Jersey, you can just, it became Denver all of a sudden. Like marijuana for just any kind of use that you want is legalized in Jersey. So when do you take that away?
Yeah, it's legal in these states where we are. Some places it's still illegal, but that's but even then, if it's legal, but at the NFL forbids it, you got to follow the rules.
I think they make you follow the rules when it works for them. And, they're like any giant corporation in that sense. But Yeah, so I mean, we go through that. So the Dolphins, we had a little bit of other stuff going on, and then we lightened up our tight end room. What'd you think about that? I mean, we were kind of deep in the tight end room, and then we moved Adam Shaheen.
Yeah, the Dolphins moved on. I wouldn't say moved on, but they have traded away Adam Shaheen for a draft pick in which it's from the Houston Texans. It is a 2024 fourth round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we kind of switched spots with Houston, right? Like they got Shaheen in ours, and we got theirs. What I do like
Yes.
is the Dolphins are making trades to teams that we should have a better record than. So hopefully it's moving our draft spot up.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but we have
No,
a 2026 round pick for Houston in exchange for um, Adam Shaheen, and we also gave up the 2023 seventh round pick
yeah.
to for a 2023 sixth rounder. But
I haven't watched training camp as much this year as normal because I'm trying to stop myself, man. I buy the hype every year. Whatever it is, I really buy in, and I get such high expectations for the Dolphins, and I've routinely been let down. So with the expectations around the NFL being high for the Dolphins, I'm trying to control my own. So I haven't watched a ton, but when I saw this trade, the first thing I thought is Hunter Long's coming along, right? They believe enough in Hunter Long now, who, tight end out of Boston College, has all the skills to be that versatile tight end, good hands, good route runner, needed to work on blocking. But if we're comfortable enough to move on from Shaheen, that just made me think that the Dolphins have a little more faith in Hunter Long.
yeah, and he could work behind Kaseki if he stayed.
Yeah, and you still got Durham Smythe. I mean, we're still deep at tight end.
We have a good tight end spots. Tight end depth is pretty good. How long we have more faith in, that's kind of huge. It builds their confidence and it also builds up the motivation too.
Sure. And, all these draft pick things, um, it kind of hit me with this when we were talking about getting the penalized and even the Shaheen trade and all this is if you truly look at this Dolphins rebuild, right? We're past the point of building through the draft. Okay. We've done that, right? The young core is there. We've drafted them. We make a move to bring in Tyreek Hill. It's like we're not that team that needs to stockpile first and second rounders, right? Green Bay doesn't do that every year. Kansas City doesn't do that every year. We're done. We've done that. So these draft picks, while maybe on paper it looks like it hurts, it shouldn't. It shouldn't because we should be in the phase now that we're trying to take the next step. And there's not going to be a first round draft pick who does that. The guys that we've already drafted in the first round, in the second round, the Jalen Phillips, the Javon Hollins, the Christian Wilkinson, right? Those are going to be the guys. Waddle, those Tua, that we've got the core. So the draft picks don't hurt me that much.
No, I don't think it would hurt any the Dolphins team for a while now. They got I think with these draft picks, what are we going to use them for? To build up more? Why not give those draft picks to someone who probably wouldn't need it for a superstar like Tyreek Hill?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, literally in this Dolphins, like that rebuild from the tanking time of Flores, this was set to be this way. And Chris Greer quietly, I mean, if this comes together the way it is, Chris Greer really has done a masterful job behind the scenes putting this puzzle together. And if it hits the way that it should, man, that guy, like, I don't know if they still give awards for executives of the year, but I'm just saying this dude's done a hell of a job.
I will say this out of my own stupidity last year, I didn't have faith in Greer, but what he did this offseason was unbelievable. I started to regret my words saying he's terrible, he should go. But I feel like what he did this offseason, he should be here for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be the mark. I mean, he's kind of put it together, and it's funny that you've built this foundation, and then we truly have a wild card. And like, you're a Dolphins fan, man. We've been through our share of head coaches, right?
Adam
Mike
Gates.
right. Joe Philbin, right? I mean, the Saban for a year. Like we've seen that Mike McDaniel is he's an odd duck. Like he's something different. Like I don't know if it's going to be great or if it's going to be really bad. Like
With Daniel, he sounded extremely scary calm. Like you see coaches that are like all fired up, but he's extremely calm. I don't know if it should worry me or if something that we should be calm too, because this guy feels like he knows what he's doing. He's been in the Super Bowl with the 49ers a couple of years ago. They nearly made the Super Bowl again last season, but they throw an interception to throw the game away, and the story with the Los Angeles Rams. He's very calm, scary calm.
he seems like a mad scientist sort of guy, right? And then it's weird, like he'll drop some hip hop lyrics somewhere, and then you see him at like Tua's luau, and yeah, it's so it's different. I do like that he introduced like the orange jersey. That was a cool idea. I like that. For each practice, the player from the previous practice that was deemed the best wears the orange jersey. I like those sort of things. And it does seem like this team has the right characters in place. Like this is a year that I wish we were on Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
I do. I'd love to see like the behind the scenes with Tyreek Hill, because what he comes out in social media, he's next level. Like Tyreek is a little nutty.
Tyreek believes in Tua a lot. He says some accurate things, and I mentioned the word accurate because he kept saying that Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. Like he's more accurate than Patrick Mahomes.
Dude, but look, we've seen this as the Dolphins. People, he can't throw deep. But I'm telling you, Tua throws guys open and Tua hits routes. I mean, yeah, we haven't seen it going over the top yet. In fairness, he hasn't had a lot of protection. I mean, look, we're talking about all the other stuff, but, you added the offensive line was crazy. Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely insane. So with that, man, there's a ton of hype for the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing that we should all point out. Dolphins have sold out all of its season tickets for the first time in franchise history. Like 60 years in the league, the first time in franchise history, the season tickets are sold out.
I'm literally blown away. The running joke with me and my friends, because we're all kind of scattered, so we'll get together on Sundays and go to like a bar where they got Sunday ticket. So there's some Steeler fans, some Eagle fans. We're all over the place. And the running joke is that like Miami Stadium is always empty. They're like, it's just a ton of orange seats. And my argument was like, well, it's Miami. Like there's a lot of stuff to do. Like you don't just, it's not Pittsburgh where it's filthy and nasty, so you might as well go to a game. Like it's Miami. But sold out. This is a hype level that's
it's almost like it's the Hurricanes level hype. Both football teams are at the highest peak of the hype. But hearing this today, the Dolphins season tickets sold out. That's a monster news.
That's another thing that scares me. It's one of the reasons I think I've stayed away from like diving deep into training camp. It's like there's this hype pitch behind it and local push. And, I've always seen that, maybe it wasn't huge, but if you're on Twitter and you hang around with the FL teams and the other stuff, man, there's diehard Dolphin fans who care and they've been around and they're good fans. But now, like, sold out. I'm blown away. Like now the expectation is way up. And look, we'll find out Saturday. At least we'll get a piece, right? We're not going to get much, but it was fun today to watch a Bucks Dolphins, practice together. And then you got your first preseason game on Saturday. But yeah, man, this hype train is huge, man. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. The hype train is huge. I think we're going to see this. Where it's out to preseason and then eventually the regular season, a ton of pressure on this team this year. Well, every team has pressure, but if you're having this much hype, then it gets to you. But to me, I don't think Tua would even care. I think he's going to play the way how he normally plays, but better. We'll see where the results go from there.
When we did a lot of like playoff stuff going through FL teams, and one of the word that like I know Isaac and Jeff and those guys heard me say all the time is like two things. Do you have that dog in you, and do you have some swag, right? So there's a lot of pressure, but this team seems so young. Like Jalen Phillips ain't gonna feel that pressure. Javon Holland's not, and Tyreek Hill being there and like have done this before. It's almost like his presence through this, they're following. This team looks more relaxed and more together, which at the same time is faster, stronger, like, on the same page communication. It There's an eerie calm. You said it about Mike McDaniel. There's an eerie calm about this Dolphins team that, they might just be poised to do something.
They are very poised to do something. You're absolutely right. One of the things I like to point out is that this team, they're hungry to win. They're not giving each other the fights, because there are a couple of teams in the NFL that actually was not on the same page, and they kind of push and shove it together. Buffalo. But there's something we should talk about just a little bit before we call it here. The Michelle message. So the offense played conservative against the Bucs defense. Tua found completions with Hill, Waddle, Edmonds, and Wilson, which ended the defense left Tom Brady very frustrated in the game. But again, we'll see what happens in the actual season. I feel like with the reports are looking promising, but we got to take these reports and the practice with a grain of salt until like the regular season actually happens.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what this defense does because, when the defense turned that corner, starting with the Ravens last year, a ton of that credit went to Brian Flores, right? But nobody really talked about, was Flores really calling the defense or was he not? And we're going to see that now, right? Because was it Josh Boyer or was it Flores? Flores being a defensive guy all of a sudden got all the credit. If this team's still coming out with exotic blitz, the amoeba fronts and the zero blitz, this is Boyer. And so it's going to be interesting to see because that defense staying together is scary. And,
Yeah.
and getting better as they go, that can keep us in any game. And this is by far the most playmakers I've ever seen on a Dolphins offense. I mean, even when you have Marino, Duper, and Clayton, you didn't have guys like, Chase Edmonds in the backfield. You didn't have a tight end like Gesicki. You didn't have Cedric Wilson playing underneath them. This is talent. I mean, it's there. This is it.
This is it. And the one thing I will say is that we can make the playoffs if one or two things happen. One, like we said, they're on the same page. Two, if the team is healthy throughout the season.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. I think this is a crazy thing with McDaniel, too. He stockpiled a bunch of running backs, and that's the Shanahan way. And that's who he learned from, right? Shanahan always had a guy of like, when he was in Denver, all of a sudden an Olandis Gary that bust out of nowhere because of the offense and the way that it is. Like, we've got a stockpile of running backs that we should be healthy. I mean, the fact that Myles Gaskin's going to have to fight to get a touch, right? So that is a position where you get injuries. I feel like wide receiver depth, doing little stuff like bringing in Mohamed Sanu. Those things are, he's adding the depth.
And he's also a good locker room guy. I think it's a good addition.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got those guys together. You need a veteran to lead that way. And, I think the defense is all together. The offensive line is going to be the best that we've seen. Just the addition,
was awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, so that line's together and we're lined up to do something special in this, and we'll see what it comes out to be. I can't wait, man. Week 2, I'm taking my 6-year-old son to Baltimore. So we'll be repping the Dolphins hard in the world of purple camo. If you've never been to a Ravens game, please just don't. It's purple camo and Ray Lewis jerseys. That's pretty much it.
But they're the legends of Baltimore.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
but I'm very excited to see what happens, not just for the Dolphins, but I can add the Hurricanes there too. Football is going to be extremely exciting for South Florida sports, and I can't wait for it.
And
All
FL
right.
teams is going to be all over it, man. This is going to be a
Yeah.
heck of a year, man, and a wild ride for FL teams. Our man Isaac has put together a great squad covering everything in South Florida, right? We just got our Tampa Bay Buccaneers contributor coming on. You've got us covered with the Marlins, the Dolphins, and all things South Florida. I'm always chirping in on this part. You got Jeff hanging out in Tampa for the Rays and the Bolts. It's good stuff, man. And we're really doing a lot of fun things. I think this football season is going to be great for FL teams across the board. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. To the Tampa Bay contributor, welcome to FL teams.
Well, I love being able to kick it off, man. We're kicking it off right here. Our Miami Dolphins kickoff, you and I, man. So we'll be together throughout the season, recapping some games, talking about what's going on. So I can't thank you enough for having me on, man.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. We got to talk again because this has been a really
Absolutely.
fun conversation.
Absolutely.
All right, this is Hyena 305, episode 9, with the legend himself, Jeremiah. We thank you for joining in and thank you for watching. And on behalf of FL teams, Jeremiah, myself, and Isaac, please subscribe. This video return to and come back more because we're your back. And when we do, we'll be right there with the entertainment you deserve. All right, go Dolphins, and good night, everybody.